Good morning. Today is Thursday, September 21st, 2023. A point of deep meaning for many people on Yom Kippur is Yizkor. Saying Yizkor for some is the central point of Yom Kippur. Yizkor is a series of memorial prayers for our loved ones who have passed away. And it's said in the middle of the day of Yom Kippur. Saying Yizkor is part of the process of mourning. It is also for our parents part of honoring our parents, the mitzvah to honor our parents. Yizkor ties us to our past and connects us with our future. When we say Yizkor and we remember our parents and our grandparents who have passed away, we may also be thinking about what we want our children and our grandchildren to remember about us. And while we're thinking about that, we should consider what changes we need to make in how we live our lives in order to be remembered for what we want to be remembered for, if that's not exactly the direction we're already heading. Now, we say Yizkor for parents and others who have passed away on Yom Kippur, and 3 more times during the year on each of the Shalosh Regalim, on the last day of Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkos. We say Yizkor. So that's 4 times a year. The words of Yizkor, the prayers, are the same each time we say it, but the source for saying Yizkor and the meaning, what it is that we mean to do with this service, is different between Yom Kippur on the one hand and the 3 festivals, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot on the other. Now, I've discussed with you before saying Yizkor on Yom Tov, on the 3 holidays. That's not so simple because there's another mitzvah in the Torah, V'samachta b'chagecha, you shall rejoice on your holidays, the days of Yom Tov, and that means not to do anything that causes sadness. And for many people, Yizkor, remembering those loved ones who have passed away, can be very sad. So how does that practice become part of what should be a purely joyous day? So we discussed that before, and that's a subject for another time. But the earliest source for saying Yizkor does not relate to the festivals. It is to say it on Yom Kippur. That's the earliest source. To say it on the festivals was a later development in Jewish history. And there, on Yom Kippur, saying Yizkor is more straightforward. What it means and what it is to achieve is more straightforward. The source that we have for it is a collection of teachings by our rabbis known as Medrash Tanchuma, the Medrash Tanchuma, which says as follows: L'kach anu nogin lahazker as hamesim b'yom kippurim. We have the practice to remember those who have passed away on Yom Kippur, to say prayers about, to remember them, to say prayers about them, v'lifsok aleim tzedakah, and in their memory to pledge to give tzedakah. Shehachayim podin es hamesim, because those who are alive today have the ability to literally redeem, but enhance the souls of those people who have passed away. It is not correct to say once a person passes away, and so now their body is separate from their soul, and their soul, their neshama, the spiritual part of them, remains forever. It does not remain static. The soul can be elevated when family members or loved ones do a mitzvah in memory of that person. In other words, because of that person, well, even though their lifetime has passed, but that is a mitzvah on their behalf. Their soul is elevated, comes closer to God. And that's what we want to do on Yom Kippur. And kishaposkim tzedakah b'shvilam, when we do this, that we offer tzedakah, and we remember them, and we say these prayers, motziin umalin osan, we elevate and enlighten their neshama, their soul, kachetz min hakeshes, like an arrow that is shot from a bow. It goes straight up. It shoots up the elevation of the soul. Miyad naser rach v'naki. Immediately the soul of the one who passed away becomes pure and clean. V'gadel barov hana'ah, and becomes strengthened, emboldened with the great pleasure, spiritual pleasure that this neshama has received by someone saying Yizkor for them. And v'ochel me'etz hachayim tamid, and they will continually eat from the tree of life, figuratively, spiritually. It will cause the soul of the parent to figuratively eat from the tree of life forever. Hanatua b'mechitzas hatzadikim, which is planted in the courtyard of the righteous, v'chai le'olam, and their soul lives forever. So there is this remarkable enhancement, goodness that we can do for those who have passed away through the process of saying Yizkor. Another source, Darki Moshe writes, Lefichach nikra Yom HaKippurim. That's why the day is called Yom HaKippurim. We refer to it casually as Yom Kippur, but the official name is Yom HaKippurim. HaKippurim means Day of Atonements, plural. Why is it Lashon Rabim, plural, Day of Atonements? Shemechaper l'chayim u'lemesim. It is the Day of Atonement for those who are alive, for those of us, thank God, who are alive, and it is also a Day of Atonement for those who have passed away. Because those who have passed away also need atonement for whatever sins they did during their lifetime. And because by my actions and my words, I can elevate the soul of another when I do something positive in their memory, that helps them to achieve a kapara, atonement, even though it's after their lifetime, but the effect is on their neshama, their soul. So if that is something that I can do to help someone I love who passed away, then I must do that. And if you ask the question, this begs the question, okay, that explains why we would say Yizkor the first year after a person passes away. So we would be offering prayers for the atonement of their soul for whatever they did during their lifetime. But why would we continue to say Yizkor every year based on this? Once we've achieved atonement, then they didn't do any more sins. They were not alive in this world to be able to do any further sins after last year. Why do we keep saying it every year? So this is a really serious and potentially very sad truth. And that is, there are certain actions we do during our lifetime that have a ripple effect, that set things in motion that may continue and ripple outward for years or even generations, and that only turn into a sin, a destructive act, many, many years later after the person has passed away. How we treated a person while we were alive, it may not show up, certainly in a negative sense, it may not show up right away. It may only manifest itself years later when there is some serious, serious problem because of what we did or said or did not do or did not say. Many, many examples of this. I've shared with you before the example, the way that we arrange our financial affairs for after we pass away, the way that we want things to be distributed. Are we making sure we're doing it in a way that tries to minimize the possibility of argument and disharmony among the heirs later? Of course, the same applies to mitzvos. We could say something, and at that moment it has no effect, but perhaps years later we could set something in motion. We could start something or be part of building something. And then maybe it'll be dormant for a long time, but years later, there may be this tremendous benefit based on that initial effort that we did. Those are mitzvos that continue to accrue to our merit. There's another element of Yizkor on Yom Kippur, and that is that every one of us who is alive must ask forgiveness from the souls of those who passed away for what we did to them. The times that we misjudged them, the times that we disappointed them, the times that we may have spoken or even acted harshly towards them. And that too can continue even past their lifetime. So that can be a really shattering experience, to know that I have to stand before God and to ask forgiveness from those who are no longer alive. It's a shattering experience, as it should be on Yom Kippur. That's appropriate for Yom Kippur. For many of us at Yizkor, we remember the wonderful times, the wonderful qualities that we miss the most. And of course, no one is perfect. Our parents and our loved ones are or were not perfect. And it is normal to feel conflicting emotions when we remember someone. But hopefully, for most of us, the memories that Yizkor evokes are mainly memories we cherish. But it's important to recognize that for some of us, Dr. Michelle Friedman reminds us, Yizkor is complicated. When a parent, God forbid, abused their family or others, when a parent, God forbid, neglected or even abandoned their family, there are many different reasons that some of us have very complicated feelings at Yizkor. Some of us struggle with lingering resentment even long after a person has passed away. Some of us feel relief that a person has passed away after years of struggle that are now finally over. And so for a rabbi like me or somebody else to say some words of comfort and recognizing grief and expressing it, those words are not going to work so well for these people whose memory is so traumatic. But these people, they stand present in the room, but they're outside the perimeters of loving memory, cherished memories. And these people can feel alone. They can feel erased. They can feel ashamed. And these people are next to us. They may be us. And we need to be sensitive to that. We need to recognize that while some may be mourning the absence of a cherished relative, others may be mourning for a relationship that was painful and can never be fixed. And we should remember and be aware that there are those in the room during Yizkor who harbor dark pain towards the person that passed away, at the same time as they are looking to Jewish tradition to somehow help them make meaning out of this very, very conflicted relationship. So I think it's important to mention it now, to think about in the days before Yizkor. And I also think that it's important just before Yizkor for the rabbi to say a few words. I say this at ADATH, to say, for those of us who have complicated feelings about the person for whom we are saying Yizkor, we say, you are here, and we honor your presence among all of us who come to remember. And hopefully, maybe, that will help. My friends, I wish you a good day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.